Arsenal close to re-signing one of their best players on a new long-term contract. Deep negotiations are advancing between Arsenal and RB Leipzig, where they may be able to structure this buyout clause to save themselves more money for further investments this window. City moving in on Cherki, a move that's sobering to rivals, but massive for Manchester City. A bid has been submitted for Victor Gyokeres as well. That and much more to come on the Done Deal show this morning. Hit your like buttons. Make sure you subscribe to the Football Terrace. Let's do this. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching around the world. I'm Terry Flewers. This is the Football Terrace, and we're on the Done Deal show. Loads to talk about today. Lots of stories bubbling away. But of course, these shows are your chance to phone in, to have your say, to give us your opinions. We're going to release the link a little bit later in the show. We'll put it into the live chat so you can phone in, give us your views and give us your opinions. Good morning to Genius Game. I hope you're well. Morning to Neil Driscoll. Morning to Mustafa. I hope you're all well. I hope you enjoy it. It's going to be a beautiful day here in England today. So I am looking forward to it. Champions League final day as well. It's be nice to get back to a little bit of football as well. So yeah, good morning to each and every single one of you. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to start with a big story this morning. A big story that as frustrating. Actually, no, we're not going to start with we will start with Manchester United. Actually, I'm going to start with Manchester United, and this is that Juventus have made contact with Victor Gyokeres. The Italians want to sign a top striker this summer. There has also been reports coming out of Italy today that a bid has been made for Victor Gyokeres as well by Juve. Whether it's formal, whether it's informal, you know me on the terrace, I don't really care about that. I think they're all much of a muchness in many ways. But Arsenal were doing a lot of work around this player a few weeks ago. You see details right now up on the screen. I mean, Juve have moved in above Arsenal now in terms of interest. Man United seemingly interested, but no decision, according to Fabrizio Romano, since we missed out on the lap. A decision as to what to do next. Do we put all our money into the Mbumo deal and try and get that done? Or do we go for Victor Gyokeres and put energy in that to get it over the line? Man United kind of sitting on the fence a little bit here at the moment, not really operating a way in which we, the fans, want to work. And now Juve have stepped up. Some reports say made contact. Some say they've submitted some type of offer. And that's worrying to me. It's worrying because I think, look, if Arsenal are going to bypass Gyokeres and go for Sesko, they've got their reasons. Fair play to them. My opinion about Gyokeres has not changed. One of the most prolific, one of the best strikers in world football. The numbers on this don't lie. They're too big. This isn't a flash in the pan 20-goal season. This is 97 goals across all competitions in 2 seasons. This is a man scoring in the Champions League, a man scoring in international football, home and away, cup games, free kicks, penalties, headers. This man is multifaceted. And I'll be honest with you, it's not an easy deal for Manchester United. It really, really isn't. And there's other clubs out there that have Champions League football, European football, heritage and history as well. Juve, they're going to the World Club Cup. That may be something that he fancies being in, maybe a tournament that he fancies going to shine and to show the world what he is all about. But I can't lie. When Arsenal, not pulled out, but when Arsenal went and started enhancing the deal with Sesko, it made me hopeful. You look at the Liverpool links, and we'll get onto Liverpool and Chelsea in a moment. They're more so looking at moves. They're more so looking at deals that relate to Ekitike. There is a window of opportunity here. And my slight frustration with Man United, Cunha is done. Cunha is over the line. What's the next move? What's the next step for us? And I think that's a really important factor here. What is the next step? What is the next move for us? What are we going to do? And I do feel that's something that Manchester United fans should be a question that Manchester United fans should be asking for answers on, if I'm being honest with you, because I'd be gutted if he ends up at Juve. I'm not too sure about you, but I would be absolutely gutted. Terry advertising Rodrigo every week when Zabi says it's abundantly clear Rodrigo is essential to his plans. The media links are there, so they're up on the screen, my friend. And clubs are interested in him. Clubs have made contact with him. So there's always a possibility he goes. It says interest in clubs is high. Doesn't say the chances of him leaving are high. So please stop your crying. Juve entering the race has ended it. They don't come out of nowhere unless they are concrete. The fact that he's not negotiating clearly with any Premier League clubs speaks volumes. Well, I think this is about so far, Man United haven't made an approach or an official approach. There may have been contact, there may have been communications, but I think I do agree with the reports at the moment that United are dithering a little bit. Cunha, done, quick, executed it well. We missed out on the lap. And now there is this element of, do we sell Bruno or not? If we sell Bruno, we could maybe go and get Mbumo and Gyokeres, but then what do we do from a central midfield point of view? And I think United are just dithering here, and other clubs are not standing on ceremony. Terry, you think Victor said no to Arsenal? No, I don't necessarily think Victor Gyokeres said no to Arsenal. I think that's maybe a little bit of it's an option I put on a poll. It's an option that I put on a poll because I was wondering what people thought. Because sometimes clubs, Man City did this, no doubt about it. They wanted Wirtz. Wirtz said no, I prefer Liverpool. So they briefed the media saying he was too expensive and we're pulling away. I don't think they pulled away. I don't believe that. I believe that City got rejected. So I can't believe that about City and then not be open to the idea that one of the possibilities to why Arsenal are now talking to Sesko, one of the possibilities is Arsenal got told no but a player. It may not be true. It's a possibility at this point. It's not something I think is a cast iron fact, just a possibility, but a really good comment there. Reports of Jackson Jackson from Chelsea to Manchester United. Yeah, look, someone sent that to me last night. Could happen. I doubt it, but it could happen. So yeah, there's not much more to say about it than that, if I'm being absolutely honest with you. But Man United fans, how are you feeling about the sort of last couple of days, the window, no real movement on deals? As I say, a little bit of dithering. Gyokeres is seemingly available. It's a hard deal, but the decision, and Fabrizio said this, the decision hasn't been made. For me, it's a no-brainer. Quick, strong, fast, technical, goal scorer, knows Amorim's system. I just can't fathom why Man United are not going, right, let's go for it. I know a lack of money. Spread that cost. Spread that cost. We are going to sell some players this summer. Take that risk ahead of time. We don't have to complete the transaction until July the 1st. We can put it into next year's. What we were told was there's £100+ million to be spent. And this is where you got to hold the club to account. We were told there's £100+ million to spend before the window opens, before we've sold anybody. We're now pushing the Cunha deal to the 1st of July, which means we don't even pay the first installment until then, meaning there's money to get other deals done. We've got to make our minds up and we've got to act quickly, in my personal opinion, on this deal. We need to try and build as much of this squad for Amorim ahead of pre-season. No doubt about that in my mind. Now, sticking with Manchester United, another story today that United and Newcastle have contacted Bryan Mbumo and his representatives in recent days to explore the possibility of a move. Brentford are holding out for £50 million. Now, Man United need a number 9, but they do have an opening for Mbumo. Newcastle are going to be a fierce competitor in trying to sign this player. There is no doubt about it. I'm not going to play them down. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit. I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to be easy for Manchester United to get that deal done and dusted. It's simply not the case. But what was interesting was listening to Ben Jacobs yesterday, and I really wanted to get your view on this, is that Mbumo isn't saying, I need a team that's in Europe. He is looking for a project. He's open to a project that excites him the most. So, yes, Newcastle right now, in terms of where they were when their takeover happened to trying to win a Premier League, they're in a better position than Manchester United. But that doesn't mean and Mbumo said that doesn't mean he wouldn't go to a club that's behind them in this current moment with the potential of it becoming better. Essentially, what they're saying is he's open to Man United if the offer's right, is my reading of that situation. So for me, I'd love this player. Man United want 2 10s. Man United want another player in those attacking roles. And if Bruno is going to leave, it's essential we replace those goals. So I think it's a really interesting report, this. I think Man United are in for him. Again, I like this. I just want us to make our mind up now, though. Do we go and get Gyokeres now and at the risk of losing Mbumo? Because I do think if we go for one now and put all our eggs into that basket in the short term, because of finances, this is. If we had more money, I think we could bid for both. Which one would you prefer? And that's the big question I want to pose to the Football Terrace community. Which of the two should Manchester United prioritize? Should they go all in Gyokeres or all in for Mbumo now? And by the way, they can still miss out on the person they go all in for. Which would be your choice? I'd love to get your views. I'd love to get your opinions on that in the comment section below, people. But hit the like button, by the way, if you haven't done so already. Get yourself subscribing to the Football Terrace as well. Really important to us that you get that done. Now, moving on to Arsenal's stories, and we are going to share the link very soon for you guys to call in and have you. Actually, let's just do some of your comments first. There's been a couple of super chats that have come in that I want to put up. Terry, who do you think will end up signing this summer? I think Mbumo, Gyokeres, and Belieber, with Bruno and Garnacho plus others leaving. Listen, I'd love that selection of players. Oh, again, this is all on paper. Let's see how they work out in reality. But if Bruno is to leave and Garnacho is to leave, plus Rashford and others, if we were to replace Bruno with Belieber and Brian Mbumo, if we were to use the sale of Rashford and Garnacho to fund a Victor Gyokeres coming into the club, I think we may be a better team overall. So that is what I'm focusing on here. I'm not too sure who we're going to end up with. I really can't give a view on that. I can say who I would like. A lot of these deals are difficult. The one good thing is, though, when Don said yesterday, what's your sales pitch? This is what I would say. Let's just say Gyokeres or Mbumo are signed next in the next week or so. They become part of your sales pitch because they are your early adopters in the sales cycle. So when you're trying to do sales, there is a cycle. And it's something I learned as a salesman many, many years ago. When you first have a project or a product or an item for sale, it's hard to make people buy into it when nobody knows what it is. And what you get are your early adopters, people that go, oh, okay, I'll give that a go. It sounds good. They just try it. They're adventurous. They're pioneers, if you like. And then what happens is once you get a few people start to do it and the buzz starts to build up, there's this next massive chunk of people who just follow. That go, all right, well, look, they've tried it and they've bought it. I've seen loads of people walking around the shopping mall with a bag from a certain shop. I'm going to go and try it myself now. It's almost like free advertising. Well, then Mbumo's joined, Cunha's joined, Gyokeres is thinking. So Belieber might go, and I'm using Belieber because you super chatted it. Belieber might say, well, I'm up for it as well. You're always then going to have like a 10, 15% group at the back end that go, still not buying it. Still don't believe it's going to change. So at the moment, we've got to get those early believers in excuse the pun with Belieber in. So there is a process to these things. And yeah, it's just going to be a little bit of a slow burner potentially to begin with. Thank you, Luke, for encouraging everybody to hit the like button. Means a great deal to me, that. Thank you very, very much indeed. Now, moving on to the Arsenal story today. We only briefly touched on this yesterday because we ran out of time. And that was that Arsenal are in advanced talks with defender Gabriel over a new contract. And I can't stress enough how important this is for Arsenal. And I'll tell you as to why it's important. Because there's a lot of talk, a lot of discourse in the Arsenal fan base. And the Arsenal fans are absolutely allowed to think how they want and to feel how they want about their football club. That's fair. Everybody gets it. You're allowed to think and feel what you want about your club. One of the conversations that I've seen go around quite a bit is the element that if Arsenal don't start winning trophies, their better players are going to leave. And there is truth to that theory. Let's not sit here and pretend like a club that doesn't win the major trophies on a regular basis is not inclined or doesn't face the possibility of losing players. We all know this to be true. So I'm not going to sit here and gaslight anybody. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that this isn't the case. It can happen, most certainly. But getting a player who has been linked with moves away in the previous few summers to commit to a new deal, as an example, convincing Zubimendi's to come to the club, convincing the Gyokereses or the Seskos who have other suitors to come into your club is also a message that Arsenal still mean business. And I think the best defender at the club, signing a new deal sends a message to other players that are maybe considering leaving that this is still potentially the place to be. So I don't just think it's good for them on the field of play. I think it is good for them in terms of the morale and the psyche within the dressing room. However, because there's a lot of polarized people out there that will listen to what I say and go, no, we have to win to keep everybody. Of course, you've got to add trophies. But there are multiple factors that lead to people leaving. Like I just said with the sales process, you get early adapters, you get the early pioneers that buy into an idea. You then get sort of the massive group that then adopts and go, well, I'm going to give it a try because I see other people doing it. This works in reverse as well. If, for instance, Gabriel refuses to sign this deal and then they don't win a major trophy next year and then he leaves because he didn't sign a new deal, it makes it far more likely that a domino effect could take place and they leave. And everyone who's an Arteta outer would agree with that theory. The problem is with agreeing with that theory is that if you are a logical person and if you're an intellectually honest person, it works in reverse as well. So I do look, Gabriel, fantastic defender, no doubt about that whatsoever. An important player, a very, very, very important player for Arsenal Football Club. Him signing a new deal, I think, is absolutely essential with keeping this group together in their pursuit of a major trophy. It absolutely is. I'd love to get your opinions on that. I'd love to get your thoughts and theories on that in our comments section below, please, people, on him signing that new deal. Let's take a look at some of your comments here. Sky says, good morning, Terry. Hope you're keeping well, mate. Keep up the great work and dedication. Quick question. Which rumored transfer chances are catching your eye the most and why? Look, obviously the Sesko and Sesko to Arsenal's massive. Cherki to City, we're going to talk about in a moment, is a huge deal. The one that caught my eye very biasly, in a very biased way, I think biasly is probably not a word, in a biased way, is Emi Martinez potentially being available for Manchester United. Why that deal is so intriguing to me is a lot of people, when it comes to the finances, are probably not aware that last season, I don't know what the income in totality was for, I'm not too sure what the income was totality-wise for Villa, but 97% of their turnover was being spent on salaries. They went for broke. They went for broke to try and win the Champions League and try and re-qualify for it in the league. That failed. And that failure has now led to them being in a position where, look, their Rashford's wages come straight off because they've loaned a couple of players, so they come off. So that helps them a little bit. But most clubs, even the richest clubs in the world, typically operate between 45 and 60% of their turnover being spent on player salary, which is why the salary you're paying players is often more important than the transfer fees because it is a bigger percentage of your budget. Now, they're at 97%, which essentially means now that they have failed to qualify for the Champions League, that they're going to have to sell some players. Because there's no way with what they spent on players, there's no way spending 97% of your turnover on player salaries and all the other costs that go into running a football club. Give you an example. Man United are going to lose £20 million of revenue hosting no European games this season. But £15 million, maybe a little bit less, maybe £13 million of that £20 million you spend hosting those nights. So you're only actually losing 7 million. So you imagine if you're already spending, your turnover's coming in, but you're already spending 97% of it on salaries. You add in the cost of hosting 30, how many home games? 25 to 30 home games in a season. The cost of all your day-to-day staff, the cost of buying players, electric bills, insurances, legal fees, administration costs, etc., etc., etc. Sorry, etc., etc. They are in trouble. So the deal that's really catching my eye is Emi Martinez to Man United. Now, I know he got himself sent off stupidly, and he has those little moments, but there's talk that he could be available between 30 to 40 million pounds. And I think that's a steal. I really, really do. So I'm going to take a drink of this water for a moment. I'm still getting over this cold, but that's the deal I like the look of. That's what they call, I know everyone hates this word at the minute, but that's what they call a market opportunity. And I actually quite love that word. It's very slick, very nice indeed. So that is catching. So going back to the Arsenal conversation that we were in the middle of is this story that's come out today. And that is that Arsenal have begun negotiations with RB Leipzig regarding the transfer fee for Benjamin Sesko. Leipzig are not insisting on the 80 million euro release clause and are open to other payment structures. However, that would then exceed the 80 million euro release clause. And what's really interesting is the other day we did a show that spoke about the price of the player being set. Now, more information has come out, so then we can address, not that the media got it wrong, but they often present things in the wrong way, I suppose. So there's a lot of talk that it was going to cost 90 million pounds to bring Sesko to Arsenal. Now transpires that isn't true. The buyout clause is 67 million. So that's something that Arsenal fans have to push hard because the media is not going to push that narrative, and rival fans are going to put it into euros or into yen or into Martian dollars and try and make everything sound more expensive than it is. Nature of the beast. However, Arsenal, if they want to get him at the buyout clause at 67 million, they have to spend 67 million up front. They've got to pay the entire amount of money. What Arsenal may explore doing, and I praise Chelsea for doing this, so I'm going to praise Arsenal for potentially doing this. What they are looking to do is potentially go above the 80 million euro mark so they can spread the cost over a 3 to 4 to 5 year period, meaning in the short term, they can spend more money and they're not using as bigger amount of the cash reserves sitting within the club. Smart business. They amortize it and they do it that way. Leipzig won't care because whether it's being paid to you in installments or whether you get the cash up front, on your trading accounts, on your profit and loss accounts, it shows as money in straight away because it's from a secured creditor. You can spend it essentially. So it may rise to the 90 million mark, but even if it does raise to that 90 million mark that has been mentioned, that is also in euros. So the most they think Arsenal would spend in totality is around 75 million on Sesko. Now, some will say, I still think that's too much, Terry. I still think 75 million is too much money and we should be going for somebody else. And that is absolutely fair. If you don't think Sesko is worth 75 million pounds, you think you should be going for an Ekitike. If you think you should be going for a Gyokeres, I can understand that. I am seeing a number of people. I saw a lot of people sort of when Arsenal were looking like they were close to getting Gyokeres, when the media was saying it. Very similar with Zubimendi. I saw some Arsenal fans online. Zubimendi is the man, he's the guy, when they didn't think they were getting him. As soon as they got him, I'm not too sure if he's right for Arsenal. When they thought they were getting Victor Gyokeres, no, he's not right. There's not enough space. He's a transition striker. He doesn't fit our system. We need somebody more like a Sesko. Now you're linked to Sesko, and you should be buying Gyokeres. I see a lot of flip-flopping online, and I'll be honest with you, I enjoy it. I sit there, I laugh, I enjoy the conversation. It's funny. To me personally, It's funny to watch. It really, really is. I haven't yielded in over 18 months on my thoughts on Sesko. There is a rawness to him. That's what I said 18 months ago. That has matured somewhat. Yes, you can put together compilations of him missing chances. Yes, you can put together compilations of a bad touch or bad play here and there. But he's a very, very good football player. And I think there are far more goals to come from him. Now, there is a train of thought that says 39 goals versus 13 goals. It's not rocket science. And that's true. I understand that logic, S, as your name is. I understand that logic. I would prefer Gyokeres over Sesko. That's my personal preference. At the same time, can we be fair and say, well, Sporting Lisbon create an abundance more chances than Leipzig do? Sesko is actually scoring above his XG and above the level of chances that are created versus, say, an Ekitike, who is actually underperforming his XG in a team that is far more creative and better as a collective. I know Don and I got into this big debate yesterday about collectives versus individuals, and I think that's really important to look at. Do I think Sesko will be a hit at Arsenal? Yes. To what degree? Do I think he's going to score 35 league goals a season? No. Can he score 20 league goals a season? Yes. Will Arsenal have the opportunity to grow the amount of goals they score? Yes. So do I think he's going to go in there and just score the goals that Kai Havertz already gets in the number 9 role? No, I think there'll be more. What Sesko also has the ability to do is score goals out of nothing. And I don't know how many you expect a player to score like that. I don't think the study's ever been done. But I think he could get you in all comps between 5 to 10 goals a season, where he has the ball at an acute angle, edge of the box, etc., and he's able to bury it. According to the reports as well from people that are credible, this isn't about Mikel Arteta getting his own way. This is a debate and a conversation between Berta and Arteta that has been agreed on. So if you're someone that liked the idea of Berta and respected what he's done, objectively, give it a little bit of time. But I understand that some people don't rate Sesko, and they're allowed to think that. And they're allowed to think it's going to be a bad signing. And I will advocate for them to be able to have their say. It's why we do what we do, so people can express their opinions and have their views. We're going to open up the lines in a minute for you to phone in and give us your views and opinions on this, because that is what the Football Terrace was invented for. B here says, Gyokeres is a game changer week in, week out. Sesko is not. It is not as... Sorry, Sesko's week out. Sesko is not. I'm not as confident. And that is fair, B. That is absolutely fair that you don't feel as confident about the signing. I absolutely agree with you on that. I do. The problem I have with it is I really like Sesko as well. So I find it... that what you've said there makes a lot of sense. And I agree with you on that. I do. Terry, you were not right about Arsenal's midfield being better collectively than Chelsea's midfield. It bugged... Sorry, Terry, you were right about Arsenal's midfield being collectively better than Chelsea's midfield. It bugged on because Chelsea's midfield is our strongest area and Arsenal's is still better. Facts. Do you know what it comes down to? And look, you're a Chelsea fan saying that. Look, I looked at it last. I went onto the website that he often uses, Don, and looked at individual player stats, that data MB. This season, if you compare Palmer versus Bruno strips him in terms of the way the spider diagram looks. He absolutely strips him. If you then compare Caicedo versus Casemiro, there's certain points on that spider diagram that Casemiro's better and certain points where Caicedo's better, but it's fairly even when you just look at the stats. And I'm going somewhere with this. When you compare Enzo to either Mainu or Ugarte this season, Enzo's much better on that spider diagram. So the point I looked at is individually, if you just use the spider diagram and compare individuals, Man United and Chelsea's midfield comes out fairly even. The problem is, Sebastian, in reality, with our eyes, we all know Chelsea's midfield is superior to ours. Because as a collective together in games, they're better. And how do we know this? When we watch it And two, it is the most important function of a team, the midfield. And one of the reasons Man United are where we are is because our midfield isn't good enough. Yes, we lack scoring goals as well, and it's something we need to improve on. But one area that needs massive improvement is, by the way, it is creativity and goals from midfield. We need more than the defensive side. The defensive metrics are actually quite good, but we need more than just Bruno. So look, you have to weigh these things up. I stand by them. And it was never a dig at Chelsea's midfield. Chelsea have a brilliant midfield. Yeah, again, and when you go, Palmer did this, it's not about forget what you guys are missing my point. I'm stating, and I am speaking facts, and you can be upset about it all you want. When someone says whose attack's better, it's not the names, or it isn't because Salah does this individually. It's which attack between them wins more games, scores more goals, works better as a unit. You might have a team, my guys get more goals and assists. Yeah, but are they scoring their big chances? Where are all these goals and assists coming? Are they winning you more games? You've got to wait. There's more to it than just the stats. There's more to it than just the stats, is all I'm stating. And I didn't say one negative thing about Chelsea's midfield. I said it was very good, actually. I really, really did. Back to the transfer story today, but thank you very much. I appreciate the conversation we're having there. And Michael here says, why do people assume Gyokeres is a slam dunk? They also conflate Sesko's potential with not being able to impact the team now. He has qualities we don't have. If most fans want Gyokeres, the club should do the opposite. I think what you just said there is a fair theory on the situation. I think what you're saying holds a lot of water. I do. And I don't think there is a right and a wrong in this conversation. And I've got to that way with transfers, and we all have our opinions. And I'm probably going to become a hypocrite at some point this summer because I'm going to get excited about something. But the amount of times we go, we won the transfer window, you lost the transfer window. And then in reality, when a ball's kicked, we go, fucking hell, that was good. I remember a famous one with Arsenal. I remember Top Gooners telling me I was chatting crap when it was a summer where they signed where they signed Ben White and Tomiyasu and those guys. I think they've had like an 8 out of 10 window based on where they were and the improvement they would see. And I got told I was delusional. And they went on to challenge for the league title. And I remember everyone going, oh my God, that window was amazing. Sometimes, also the other way, that's a lot of Arsenal fans in the summer said it was a bad window. We didn't do enough. And it ended up being right. Sometimes you get these things right. Sometimes you get them wrong. I think what we need to get better at as fans in this space is being open to different ideas. All of us, including myself. I think we all need to become so much better at that day to day. I really, really do. Before I open up the lines to call in, if KJ's backstage, if you're actually active, could you put the link into the chat, please, and pin it, brother, if you're about? That'd be amazing if you could. It saves me doing it. It loses my flow of conversation. I did want to speak about Chelsea, because Chelsea, according to Christian Falk, and this was shared by the brilliant Simon Phillips, it says that Chelsea lead Liverpool in the race for Hugo Ekitike. Now, I'm a little bit concerned about that because, how do I say this in the right way? I'm a little bit concerned because I don't want Liverpool to go for Victor Gyokeres. I believe one of the most important ways of Man United getting Gyokeres is other clubs going in different directions. That being said, Chelsea mean business. If I take it away from why I'm happy about that, I don't really want Liverpool getting stronger. They've already got Havertz. They've already got Frimpong. They've already got themselves Gyokeres pretty much over the line. The idea of them getting even stronger scares the living daylights out of me. Now, you can say, Terry, but Chelsea gets stronger too. Yes. But I don't want Liverpool winning the league. Man United can't win it. So therefore, I have to look at the best of a bad situation. Chelsea winning the league next season is my best option. They have less league titles than Arsenal, so less of a threat to our legacy. City are one of my biggest rivals, and Liverpool would surpass Man United if they win it. So I am thinking about my club here. I hope if anyone in the Prem is going to get Ekitike, I hope it is Chelsea. Yes, he might score against my team, and yes, it might make Chelsea further away from Manchester United. but I can't stomach the idea of Chelsea getting him. I'm intrigued, though, to see what Chelsea do. And I only say that, again, based on what Ben Jacobs spoke to us about yesterday. And that is that Chelsea have told Delap he's the number one choice. He's the number one guy. He's the main man. And the reason why I'm intrigued is because what does that do for the dressing room if then Ekitike is signed? Because there's no way you're spending 70 to 80 million pounds on Ekitike and telling him you're back up to Liam Delap. That isn't happening. I think Ekitike is a better striker than Liam Delap, by the way, as well. So does that create a division? Does that create more competition? Does it make Delap go, well, I'll fucking show you who's boss? And he gets his head down and works even harder and makes Chelsea a better side. I mean, that is also a possibility here. But could it also mean that Chelsea look to strengthen elsewhere? We know they're looking at a left-sided attacker over that of so as well as a potentially another number 9. But the reports are varying. So there are some reports that state that Chelsea want 2 strikers. They're going to sign 2 strikers. Ekitike is the number 1 primary target. There are others that are saying it may only be 1. I would love to get your opinions on that. I really would love to get your opinions on that in the comment section below, people. I really would. This here says, consider Chelsea's transfer over the last couple of years. I wouldn't be surprised if they signed an 80 million striker for the bench. I'm going to defend Chelsea. Not because I'm a secret Chelsea fan, but I'm playing devil's advocate. Are we misrepresenting the true value of the Delap because he had a 30 million buyout clause? I'm pausing for dramatic effect. Are we doing that? Are we doing that? JJ here says, Terry, I like you, man, but you know Ekitike was struggling at PSG and went to Germany. You can't say he's better than Delap. I'm talking purely subjectively in terms of what I've seen. Where you're right, and again, this is where I'm just an open and honest guy. In the Premier League, he might not be as good. And Chelsea fans won't give a damn if they sign Ekitike, how good he was at Frankfurt, if he's not doing it at Chelsea. The same as if, say, Inter Milan by Rasmus Højlund, and he goes to Inter Milan and kills it, Inter Milan fans won't care that he was bad at Manchester United. Villarreal supporters didn't care that Diego Forlan flopped here in England. So you are right when you say that. But I do think potentially here, and this is myself, maybe we've misread the situation here. Maybe, just maybe, the reason why maybe Ekitike is the backup. Maybe if he didn't have a buyout clause, Chelsea would have been prepared to go as high as 60, 70, 80 million for Delap, but they could get him cheaper. The same as we saw Chelsea often get praised for, wow, they only paid 27 million for Kante. Liverpool got praised, oh, wow, look, Liverpool only paid like 30 million pounds for whatever it was for McAllister. Well, that's not great business. It's a buyout clause. So again, maybe Chelsea value Delap much higher than his buyout clause. They've just bought him cheaper. So we're all viewing it, and I've been viewing it as, well, he has to be the backup. You wouldn't buy 30 million striker, wouldn't be the main guy over an 80 million striker. But it depends on what you see their true value as. You know, if you buy a house on auction because it's a little bit broken down and the owners went bankrupt, you're going to get it at a lower price than it's actually worth. Just some food for thought. Someone who is credible said Chelsea are going to do a Caicedo and Lavia type thing with our strikers this season. And you could be absolutely spot on, mate. You know, I mean, in fairness to Ben didn't write it off. Ben didn't say that Chelsea are not going to sign 2 strikers. He didn't say that at any single point of the show that we did yesterday. Not at any point did he say that at all. But so I'm just reading something here. But it is food for thoughts, especially if the targets go. This here from Harold says, I don't want Liverpool to win because I can't stand them, not because it's 20 versus 20 now. I want us to, I don't know what any means, be the best because of our quality, not others' failures. Now, I understand that. And of course, in an ideal world, I want Manchester United to win and be the best. Of course I do. That goes without saying. But at the same time, I feel that isn't going to happen. So if I'm being honest about the situation, I need that to happen. I need Liverpool to not get even better. It's hard to value it's hard to value talent when Delap, he has 20 goals in 2 seasons since I seldom add Premier League 2 stats. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Terry, got a question for you. Why is Man United not going for Jonathan David? He is on a free. That may be an option that Man United go for. What I would say about Jonathan David, he certainly fits that category of player who has been raved about, praised and hyped for at least 5 to 6 seasons. And at no point has any big, very big or giant club tried to buy him. And it speaks volumes to me. You look at like Victor Gyokeres right now. United are circling. Arsenal have been looking. There's interest from Juventus, giant club. There's big clubs looking. You look at Cunha, Arsenal were interested. Man United end up signing him. Brian Mbumo, Man United, Arsenal, Newcastle, been looking. Ekitike, at least Liverpool and Chelsea in the Premier League looking at him. Mamouche was only getting hyped for a few weeks. Arsenal were looking. Then City went and bought him. My one thing about Jonathan David is objective about Jonathan David. Why after all these years has nobody taken a chance? I feel similar about him as I did with Wilfried Zaha. Had the United opportunity, didn't work, went to Palace and spent, 8 years there? No one took a chance. And it's just, after a while, I think, is there something in that where no one's prepared to say, I'm going to give him a go? Let's go to some more of these super chats here. Not comparing Sesko to TT. Who's TT? Who's TT? You mean Henri? Or am I missing out? Who's TT, people? Right, tell me in the comments. Am I just not working out who TT is? Am I being stupid? Henri, right, cool. I didn't want to carry on until I knew, but you could imagine uproar if social media was around when we signed Henri from you. Oh yeah, I should have just read the rest of the super chat, shouldn't I? From Juve, fans can't stand being proven wrong. You are very right. You are very, very right indeed when you say that. Man City getting Reinders and Liverpool getting Havertz sickens me. How much more needs to happen under the Glazers for us to lose more ground? Look, I heard Mark earlier on today talking about this, and it is frustrating, and I want to see us move. What I will say, and this isn't in defense of the owners in any capacity. I've been as vocal about our owners as anybody, especially the Glazers. But maybe Man United are not trying to sign Cherki because he's told the world I only want to join City now they're interested. So therefore, we would be stupid to waste any time trying to sign him. The one thing I don't want us to do is waste time chasing a Frankie de Jong that's never going to happen. That was a dumb thing to do that summer. So we need to wait for the dust to settle, I think, before losing our minds on all these deals. We get told in one breath, even by Man United fans, we get, why would they want to join us? Why would they want to join us? And then in the next breath, we say, why is the club not trying to sign everybody? You can't be polarized on both those opinions. Because if most people don't want to join us because you say we're dead, why are we moaning at the club for letting other players join other clubs? It logically isn't there. The reality is some players will want to join us, some players won't. We just need to make sure the ones that want to join us are good enough to improve us. Where I do agree with the frustrations is I think we've got to start moving a little bit quicker. On what you've said there, though, big story has mentioned that City are set to submit the opening bid for Ryan Cherki he said Man United targeting here next week, according to Fabrizio Romano. And I think that is a phenomenal piece of business for City if they pull it off. I really do. No hate, nothing bitter, no digs, but that is a phenomenal piece of business. You can't lie. That is a phenomenal piece of business. It really, really is a top-class piece of business if they pull that off. And look, I'd have loved him at Man United. I said this for weeks. There was talks, there was rumors that we were interested, it could happen. But it just appears that City have swept in and said, we want him. And I don't like it, but I totally understand why he prefers to move there over coming to Manchester United. I really, really do. And I just think this is a phenomenal piece of business. I really, really do. I think it is a great bit of work if they can bring him in. And it's so cheap as well. You're talking around 20 to 25 million euros. Santi said it's a done deal. Did he actually say that? Manchester United are hoping to use the experience. Let me read this here. The experience and connections of Christopher Vavao to beat Arsenal to the punch on Benjamin Sesko. Well, there was a link to Sesko the other day, and we spoke about that 2 or 3 days ago on the terrace that Man United were looking. So we'll see, but we have to have a few options, Man United, simply because we haven't got the lap. We might not get Gyokeres. We can't not be trying to sign strikers. But equally, guys, don't get upset if we're rejected. We can't be in for everyone and not get rejected when you also say that we're not very attractive. He said the terms are agreed. Yeah, no, I'm not surprised. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to happen. I do think it's going to happen. I really, really do. And see, this is the thing, Matt. This is the thing with you, Matt. You can laugh all you want, right? You're just an internet geek. And the reason why I say you can laugh all you want is because last year you sat in our group chat and told us every day what was going to happen with Man United signings. You got none of them right. You didn't get any of the managerial appointment stuff wrong. You're just a troll. So go away, Matt. Go away and find some friends. Go away and find some friends. No news from Mbumo. We need to get it done, then get Gyokeres. Well, there is news. There is news out there. We've shared it earlier on in the stream, actually. The news came out on that just a couple of hours ago that Man United and Newcastle are in contact and they're pushing to try and get something done. So 110% there have been conversations regarding that. I'm going to take a call now on the show. I'm going to see if I can seamlessly do what I'm about to do. I've never tried to do this before. Changing the screen at the same time as I add in a caller. So this will be fun. But we're going to be bringing in Rak to have his say on the show. Welcome, mate. Hope you are well. What are you here to say, bro?
Yeah, like I want to just talk about. Thanks for having me, for bringing me on, Terry.
No worries, mate.
I actually just wanted to talk on the Sesko thing. And like
Yeah.
I've obviously been hearing a lot of Arsenal fans online and talking like, oh, Sesko's the one, this, that, and the other. But like, I'm just gonna be honest, and obviously you know me, Terry. I don't do this whole agenda thing. I just keep it real how it is. This whole Sesko thing, I don't think it's the signing to get Arsenal over the line. Like, let's just be real. I've watched this guy before. I watched him in Bundesliga, and I've also watched him in the Euros, and I've not been impressed by him. And you know, even what the funny thing is, yeah. Obviously, I'm Nigerian, by the way. He's not even better. He's not even better than Victor Boniface. Like that's not even the funny thing. And the whole thing, but why people will tell me why they want Sesko, they'll tell me he's young. He like, oh, like Arteta just wants a guy who can develop. But come on, like Arsenal need ready-made players like now. And I just don't get why some Arsenal fans, especially like certain Arsenal fans, they're just so intolerant. Like they don't want this experience. They keep saying Arteta wants this, Arteta, but like people don't want to think about what the club wants. They're just saying what the manager wants. And I feel some people just don't have their own opinions. They just want to, like, it's kind of like they're almost like, you know, as you say, people are sort of married to the manager more than they are to the club.
Yeah, I can understand that. Look, I don't necessarily, I don't dislike or don't rate Sesko. But where I do agree is I think there are, I personally think there are better options out there. I think Gyokeres is a better option. I think Osimhen is a better option as well.
Yeah.
So I do think there are better people to go for. What's your argument, though, to the Arsenal fans that break down not technically, but tactically, why it's a better option? So, for instance, Staffy, who's not an Arsenal fan, who doesn't like Arsenal, thinks that Sesko is a much better move for you than Gyokeres. What do you think they're seeing that potentially you or I are not?
I don't know. People are just looking at, okay, he scores screamers, maybe shooting ability. But but to be fair, like I just don't know what those people see in here. Like maybe fair enough to whatever they see in him, but Arsenal just can't afford to sort of go for X-ris. They just need to go for a ready-made, and people just don't want to accept it. Like when I just say that, people want to just be like, you're negative, or Arsenal don't need a striker, or we need we need a left winger. And I mean, it's like some people don't really. They just think like, the approach Arsenal should go through is. It's kind of. Let's just put it this way. I feel like some people are almost trying to look for ways to make an excuse if the Sesko signing doesn't work. That's what some people are almost trying to do.
Well, I look at it this way. I think there is no excuse. If what you're saying is that they only want the signing because they only back Arteta, if the signing doesn't work, if the signing doesn't make you a better team, it actually reduces the excuses. I think, ironically, if you get Gyokeres and it doesn't work, it gives more of an excuse to say, well, Arteta couldn't help it. He didn't get the player he wanted. So what I would say is a positive for someone like yourself is I think it lessens the excuses that Mikel Arteta could have.
Yeah, you know what? I would rather see like my team go for an experienced player, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, fair enough. Sometimes not all big name signings work, and that's what a lot of football fans, particularly Arsenal fans or other Premier League fans, think. They just think like if they're not a City fan, they just think, if a big name signing flops, I don't want to take a risk again. But when I've been on other football, spoken to other football fans, especially a City fan like LB, he said like every signing is gonna be a risk. Like you got to take risks.
Mm-hmm.
You can't like. I'd rather take a risk and know like there's more assurances like on an Osimhen or Gyokeres than to take a risk on a Sesko, because how much does it look like Arsenal could be paying for him? Is it like 92 million? Something like that?
For who?
For Sesko.
Well, his buyout clause is 80 million euros, which is 67 million pounds. So it's not as high as 92 million.
But when I look at the money that Arsenal are spending, if Arsenal are spending that for him to be a backup, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Because surely it has to be a starter. You cannot buy him and then you're saying he's going to be an understudy to Havertz. Because it just brings me to this attention. Do some Arsenal fans really want to win? Or are they just happy with just finishing second? And then people say that, people just like, whenever you try and almost critique or share that, okay, it's not, Arsenal need better. Other people almost want to say, you're being negative, or you can't just critique the manager, or you should just be like, give the player time. But I'm not sure Arsenal have the time to really be waiting on a Sesko to develop.
I hear where you're coming from, and I think there's a risk there, mate. Listen, great call, my friend, and we'll chat to you again soon, brother. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Terry.
Top man, thank you. Next on the line, thank you, bro. We've got Abdul here with us. What you saying, Abdul?
Yo, how you doing, Terry?
I'm very good, mate. You?
Man, I'm doing amazing. Like, it's been a long time since we last spoke.
Yes, bro. I know. Thanks for calling in, my man.
Yeah, man. I used to be active, on the call-ins, like back in 2022 when the Rafinha thing was going on. I don't know if you remember.
I do, mate. Yeah. Big Barca fan. I know you are.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, like, on the Sesko thing, I find it interesting that they're overlooking the fact that Havertz had very similar, if not even better, stats than him in the Bundesliga when he was playing as an attacking midfielder back before Chelsea signed him. and he's obviously not playing as an attacking midfielder anymore. But I just find it interesting, Terry. Like, do you think Sesko would be like an upgrade? Because honestly, the way people talk about Kai Havertz, obviously, is not very positive. But I still think Arteta really likes him as a striker. So, do you think maybe they're planning on Havertz remaining as the number 9, and then Sesko coming in as like a project signing who's going to grow on the Havertz?
I don't necessarily look at Sesko as a project signing. He'll be turning 20. I think he turns 22 today. He's going to be, so which means next season he's turning 23. He's not a baby. He has over 200 games. It should be seen and treated as a signing that has to hit the ground running and do very well. Now, I understand that he's not been scoring at the same rate as an Erling Haaland or an Mbappe or a Gyokeres for people to be on the edge of their seats going, wow, that's amazing. But when I have watched him play, his hold-up play can be very good. His link-up play, those areas I think he's better than Kai Havertz at. So I think they need that. I've watched, I don't know how many Leipzig games this season, maybe 10. I haven't watched them deeply, but they do lack chance creation for their strikers. And I think that isn't the case at Arsenal. And I think with a striker like a Sesko, I think you'll see the chance creation go up, because we have to remember that chance creation only counts if there's a shot at the end of it. So, for instance, Arsenal can work on a good move, feed the ball into the right area, but Kai Havertz is standing still, or Moreno standing still, or Trossard hasn't made the run because he's not a number 9. No one makes contact and it gets cleared. We as fans go, that was a chance. The stats don't show it as anything, not even the XG, not a big chance created. So I think they've got an opportunity there. I still personally, though, would go for a Gyokeres. So I'm not going to yield on that. I just don't necessarily, I'm not putting Sesko into this. He's a kid category. The same as Delap. People are talking about Delap at Chelsea like he's an 18-year-old. The man's, I think he turns 23 this season. That's not a baby in football. Do you know what I'm saying? You're like sort of 4 or 5 years into your professional career. So look, there's a risk. There's a risk to every deal. And as Sebastian says here, should Arteta be fired if they sign Sesko and still don't win a major? I think when they sign Sesko, Gyokeres, Mbappe, Haaland, if they get a time machine and bring back a 25-year-old Henry, if they don't win a major trophy next year, Mikel Arteta's job needs to be looked at. Context always needs to be applied. How far were they away? Did they nearly win the league and win some smaller trophies as well? But by and large, his job has to be at risk. I don't think that can be denied at all. Question for you, Abdul. Go on, mate. Go on, mate.
I heard from Rory. You know Rory.
Rory Talks Football or Rory Jennings?
Talks Football.
Yes.
I think he was saying that although on paper the Sesko deal would be more expensive, in reality, what's being reported is that Gyokeres, apparently they're demanding a massive sign-on bonus and agent fees, which would take it above the actual fee for Sesko. So that's what he was saying.
Yeah, and that's also part of this as well. It's why, you know me, you've watched the show for years. It's why I don't like net spend conversations, because it's a load of old bullshit. And the reason why you know it's a load of old nonsense is that it could cost 55 million to sign him from Sporting, but maybe there's a 10 million, 15 million pound signing on fee, and then wages that outstrip what Sesko wants. So actually, and this is why I think there's an element of patience needed. Say Arsenal look at it and go, look, we think Sesko in our team is going to score more goals than at Leipzig, but we also think Gyokeres is going to score less goals than he does in Portugal. But Gyokeres in totality is going to cost a third or 2/3 more, but we don't think there's going to be a massive difference in their output in the Premier League for Arsenal. Then again, it does make sense to go for the option that's slightly cheaper. So maybe then they can invest elsewhere in a Rodrigo or the Williams or, Sane they've been linked to. So again, I think all of these things play a part in the conversation. So what I find interesting, all the Arsenal fans I see now angry at Sesko are the same Arsenal fans that 5 weeks ago were saying those numbers from Gyokeres won't translate into the Premier League anyway. So I do wonder what they want. I always feel like those Arsenal fans, they basically ask for what they know they're not going to get, so they can be annoyed. it's kind of strange. Like a lot of them used to rave about Zubimendi. Now Zubimendi coming in isn't going to help Arsenal. And I just sit there and think, I see it on TikTok and I'm like, you lot are mad. I swear you said, you sit there and you start questioning yourself. You're like, I swear 6 months ago you said the opposite. And you start scrolling through their TikTok. You're like, there it is. You literally, but yeah, it's an interesting one. I think Sesko will be a good player for them. I would still go for Gyokeres. Listen, Abs, always a pleasure to speak, mate. Thanks for calling in, brother.
Thank you.
Cheers, man. Thank you. Matt's on the show with us now. What you saying, Matt?
Hello, Terry. Hope you're doing well.
I'm good. What do you want to say?
Look, with Benjamin Sesko, look, I've stated I really like the player a lot. And I don't understand this notion of that Victor Gyokeres has more experience. In a top 5 leagues, right? They have round about the same. Because Sesko has spent about, he's had about 70 to 80 appearances in the Bundesliga. And Victor Gyokeres has about the same in the Portuguese league. So I don't really understand the experience aspect part of it. Of course, just being a striker in general, of course, I get that aspect. But in terms of being in a big league, I mean, that's a massive jump from, the Championship, for example, where, he has spent, most of his time in that league. And he did do well there, Victor Gyokeres. But I just still prefer Sesko because, again, he just fits into our team so seamlessly in that, his build up, he can link players into play. It kind of reminds me of when Jesus joined and we had Gabriel Martinelli and they just interchanged so well. And I think that might happen again with, let's say, a Rodrigo or a Nico Williams. If we do buy Sesko, we have to buy, a proper winger. Like it can't just be Martinelli still at the club and like still starting for us. It has to be, another upgrade on him. And I do just want to say on the Liverpool Hugo Ekitike and the Chelsea links, I think it's very interesting if Chelsea do actually sign him, because then it kind of goes, well, where is Liam Delap going to fit in? Because from what the reports have been saying is that Tuchel has spoken with him and he has said your best chance of, getting into that squad for the World Cup is by playing in the Champions League. And I guess what he kind of meant by that is starting at a big club, not like Ipswich. So it kind of throws a spanner in the works. If they do sign Hugo Ekitike, what happens with Liam Delap?
Well, it does potentially, but that's only if to be on Chelsea's side here, only if Liam Delap isn't up for the fight, only if Liam Delap isn't good enough. Because if Liam Delap is good enough to lead the line for Chelsea, he'll lead the line for Chelsea. And you sometimes need that. Matt, thank you for calling in, bro. I really appreciate that a lot. Top man. Thank you. Oh, it does work. It works brilliantly. It's a little seamless thing. I like it. It's looking slicker. The super chat here says Delap needs more time. He's not ready to be our number 1, but he will definitely become our FA Cup darling next season. And Pete, this also here from Mr. Green says, I think Chelsea have more pull over Arsenal when it comes to Rodrigo because of our links, and we will be joining Santos, Willian, and I can't pronounce that last name, but thank you for sharing it. Look, I want to thank, sorry, excuse me, this cold. I want to thank everybody that's tuned in to the show today. Please make sure you hit the like button before you leave if you haven't done so already, and get yourself subscribing to the Football Terrace. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. By the way, this video is going to redirect you to our watch along for the Champions League final. So we'll see you all tonight on that watch along. Take care, people, and I'll see you all again soon. Peace.